Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lottie, everything here is made with a Lottie love, and these are what you've asked for. Ye asked, so ye shall receive. This is my step-by-step tutorial for the mini pocket pick-me-ups, as Sherry the Posh Paper Lady called them, and I have stolen that name. That was the perfect name for them, mini pocket pick-me-ups. So I'm going to show you how to make this one with the book insert, the little notebook insert. I am going to show you how to make this one with the elastic closure and notebook inside, and I'm going to show you how to make this one with the tuck spots and little note card inserts. Now I will say I had a lovely lady who commented on my video who said that she is just going to pass these out to strangers, which I thought was just a really lovely idea, and it's kind of that pay it forward kind of scenario. So I've got a little idea for that at the end as well, and because you have waited so long and patiently for this, I have also made something a bit interesting. So what I have done is I've made a little kit that you can download from my Etsy shop. This is the instruction page, and you can print this off. I recommend printing on A4 cardstock if your printer can take cardstock, or at least the thicker paper that you can, and borderless. Print it on high quality, and you will get in this kit the pre-measured bases, which will make 5. I've designed some papers like these, and this one, the Posh Paper Lady's got a set of papers which have the floral on colours, which I've downloaded and I purchased myself, but I also took some inspiration from my daughter's little. This is such a cute little outfit that she had, but it was black stripes and daisies, and I just thought, oh, that's lovely. So I've done that. So there's some papers that you can use if you wish. I mean, you can still use your scraps. I made the mini notebook cover for this as well, so that you can get the matching ones for your little notebook inserts. Again, you don't have to. You can just use your scraps. And then I made some sentiments, random word sentiments, 2 by 0.8, 1.5 and a half, 1 by a half an inch, and then you've got spares to write your own words on and things like that. So I've made that if you would like to download that. It is a purchase, but it took me a while to make, and obviously I have a baby to feed, but yeah, I will link that in the description below to my Etsy shop, and it's a download. So obviously it's a download, it's not a physical product. The mirrors and things like that don't come with this, so it is your choice if you wish to purchase this from my shop. So if you wait till the end, you can see that one as well. Also, if you follow me on Patreon, I have made this, which you can download for free from my Patreon, and we're going to make a little card craft together on Saturday 26th of April this year, so it's 2025 depending when you're watching this. So you can download that, print that, and we'll make a lovely couple of cards together. It won't be live, it's just a craft along video. Okay, so yeah, let's get crafting. So it's really, really simple. I've got an A4 piece of cardstock here. It's heavyweight, so it's 300 GSM. One sheet of A4 will make you 5 of these. So you can make one for yourself as well, because you should remember to give yourself kindness too. You are just as deserving as everybody else of a bit of kindness. So first things first, widthways, we're going to cut this at 2 1/4. Then we're going to score one end at 2 1/4, and then 4 1/2, and then 6 3/4, and that is it. So then you've got your strip with your score lines. You're going to fold up the first 2 1/4 and burnish that down. Fold it up, so you've now got the fold over again, and then the shorter score line is where you can fold that over the top. That makes your lid, if you call it a lid, or your top flap, I guess. And that is as simple as it gets. 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, now for the decorating. So grab your stash of scraps. I've gone for coloured designer paper, but you can go for plain paper, whatever card scraps you've got. Just to say, this is the thick card. The coloured card tends to be medium weight, and because it can be thrown in your purse, you want it quite sturdy, but yeah, nothing too thin. But you could really make the base from a strip of coloured card if you wanted just to do that. But for sturdiness, I'm doing it this way, decorating with extra paper, so it's got a bit more weight to it, and so it doesn't just disintegrate in someone's bag. And so with your scraps of paper, you're going to cut squares of 2 1/8 by 2 1/8, and just make a whole load of squares. So I've just cut a huge selection here, so I'm going to choose which side's going to be the front of each, and I'm just going to cover the back with some double-sided tape. So for example, this one, I want the rose on the front because the back's pretty boring, so I would literally just put 3 strips, so 1 on this end, and I'll get my gluey scissors and cut the end off. 1 on this end as well. And this is good, really good sticky double-sided tape, and actually I got this from Home Bargains for 69p for a roll. So I'm no longer ordering the stuff I used to order from Amazon, because this, well, the shop's down the road from where I work, so I can just pop in, and for 69p I can buy a whole roll. So, and it's good quality, so that's if, for anyone in the UK who's got a Home Bargains by them. Anyway, so I'm just going to keep sticking double-sided tape on the backs of this. So the first one I'm going to make is this one, the first one I showed on my very first video. So this is the flip open one with the mirror here and the pull out notebook. like this. So I'm just gonna show you quickly. So I've got my base here, and I have my papers. So I want to work out which is going to be on the inside. So I think I'm going to stick this one on the inside, so the mirror will be on this piece here. And then this folding up piece is going to be the pocket for the booklet. So what I'm going to do is just stick this down, just going to stick that right there, remembering that there's an 1/8 of an inch difference around the edge, so there's going to be a slight border, and remember, you can always distress ink your edges if you want just a bit more definition around there. So then for this part, we don't want to stick anything on the inside here, so I'm going to flip that forward and I'm going to stick another piece. I'm going to stick that one there. So that one will just sit right there. Then I'm going to pop this one on the back here. Now what I want to do is, so when we close this up fully, this is going to really be the front. So I'm going to make sure that this is directionally correct. Now if you're not using directional paper, it's not an issue, but just in case you were, I will show you how I just stuck that down. So inside, nothing, pocket. So this is directional when you open it. To flip it round, that's going to be upside down, but it is the correct way up when you close it. I hope that made sense. And then on the back here, it's going to be, that's the back, and that is the right way up. So whatever you decide, and actually I think I'm going to pop this one here, so my heart will be the right way up. And again, you'll notice this is now up, it looks upside down, but it's going to flip upwards to be the right way up. Yes. So I'm going to fold this in half, get my scissors, and just cut that down the middle, like so. And I'm going to use this half as the front, pop that on the top here, and then I'm just going to trim this down. And then the other half of that card, I will pop, that's directional, so just in there, like that. Okay, so that is now decorated. For the pocket, I got my hole punch here. You don't need a hole punch. In fact, I'm going to show you without the hole punch. So. Okay. So, if I find my pencil, I'm going to just mark. There's no measurement needed here, I just want to see what would look. Yeah, so it's marking a circle on either side. To do if I'm free cutting, is I will cut the top one and then I will cut the bottom with that, and then you can curve it perfectly, or not perfectly. I don't believe in perfect, but it will help kind of make it so that it's at least even on these sides. Now I think that is just enough. You can obviously cut further in and make a deeper curve, but I think it's just a little subtle cut in the sides to show that it's a pocket is enough. And again, if you had used your distress ink around the edges of your papers, you could then dab the distress ink around here as well. Okay, so just like that. Now we are going to get some glue, because if you use double-sided tape for a pocket like this, when you insert things it's likely to get stuck because the double-sided tape will lift. So I recommend using glue, and this is just regular Papercraft PVA glue, just a thin strip of glue at the top of that fold. Line that up and just hold that in place for a minute and then leave it to dry. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I've got another scrap here which I'm going to cut down at 1 3/4 by 3. And this is to make your little booklet. And then we're simply just going to fold that in half. And finish that down. So I've always got random strips of A4 paper lying around, or scraps of A4 printer paper because of all the books I make and cards, etc. So this is the lengthways. Let me show you. So this is an A4 sheet of paper, and so this is just the cut off of a length, the length of the A4 rather than the width, so it's length. And I want to trim this down to 1.5. Trim that down to 1.5. Let me just see. Oh, look at that, perfect. It was a 3-inch strip anyway. How lucky was I? Okay, so this can make the inside of this one, and I can save this strip for the later one. So it's that was really lucky. So 1.5 widthways and the length of an A4, which is 11 3/4. So what I'm going to do is start folding this into a zigzag, and I'm going to roughly measure this at 1 3/4. So I'm using my mat here as a guide, but I'm not being specific. Just the first fold, 1 3/4, roughly. Okay, as long as the edge is straight, as long as the sides are together, then it doesn't matter. Now we're just going to fold it over and fold back on itself, just like so. Fold, turn it over, fold it back on itself. Fold, turn it over, fold it back on itself. And it doesn't matter if you slightly go off, just redo it. Flip it over, fold it back on itself. Okay, and then when you flip it over, this last little piece, which is not long enough for the rest of it, is going to be where you adhere it to the inside of that book. And so just rearrange anything that you need to right now before you stick. So let me just check. So I will stick this to the back of the book, and this will then stretch out for you to write your lovely messages or your sentiments or whatever it is that you want to give to your loved ones. And it is just slightly too thick, so I am going to trim that down just slightly by about 1/8. So I'm going to pop that in the book and just check again. Lovely. So then with this you could use double-sided tape. In fact I am going to, so I don't want the paper to warp. So just a little piece of double-sided tape. And then fold that down, so you want that top flap to be at the top when you stick it in. Make sure, okay, I want the book that way around, so I'm going to stick that in like so, fold those up and over, and that is your little book done, which will now, if this is dry, let me just double check. I'm going to pop my finger in through there. Yeah, lovely. We've made the pocket for the book, just like so. Now that looks like it's gone a little bit on the short side, so a technique that you can use here is we have left this exposed. So if you want to make this a pull-out part, what we can do is stick a piece here and add a little curve here. So I'll show you what I'm going to mean. So and you can do this as and however you like. I'm just going to cover this with some glue, and again this was just a random scrap of paper that was left over from making the book in the first place. So I'm just going to stick that in onto there, make sure it doesn't affect the closure, the front cover. And before I do anything else, I'm going to let that dry. So this is a magnetic sheet with an adhesive back, and I'm just going to cut really simply a little strip of this. I'm not even measuring, I'm just cutting a little strip. And so what I'm going to do is work out which side is the side with the adhesive on it. I'm going to cut 2 pieces, so I've just cut that piece. I'm going to layer the pieces together and trim again. I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to make sure I stuck this to the bottom of the top flap. Then I'm going to stick the other magnet to that with the adhesive side up. Close this down, and then you've got your magnetic closure. I'm going to bring this back in because now it is dry. I'm just thinking off the cuff here, this is absolutely off the top of my head. So I'm going to cut that down, and all I'm going to do is cut diagonally. Just going to make that a little bit more angled. Close this up, and when I pop this in here, I've now got a bit that sticks out, so I can grab that as a tab pull, and you can even, once you've stuck your sentiments on, you could put a pull mark there or something. That is now done, and we just need to stick our lovely sentiment sayings to the person, or to the person we want to send love to, or to ourselves. As I said, the whole point of the mirror is to reflect kindness that you would give to other people back to yourselves, to look in the mirror, to read these words of affirmation, to read these words of kindness and warmth and love, and remember that you are loved, that your feelings are valid, that you are valid, etc. These are the mirrors. Again, everything I use is in my description below. These are the small ones. There was medium-sized ones, larger ones, which is the ones I've used in my journals, and there's this huge one here. But for now, I'm just using this smaller one. So these are really easy. They've got an adhesive on the back. And I'm just going to stick that down to the side and not quite to the middle, because I want to stick some sentiments around here, and it shows off the nice rose design there. Again, you could have stuck that right in the middle, it's completely up to you. And then this top part of the mirror has its protective layer. Peel that off, and there is your mirror. Now I'm not going to sit and do the sentiments with you now. If I just used my Dymo to type out some sentiments and just stuck them wherever and however around. I stuck a little diamante bit there, and that was that done. So that is the first one. Now for the second one. So now we have this one with the elastic closure, which is really easy to do. So I will show you that now. And this has got the notebook in it. But I've got a slight adaptation, because obviously I showed you this in the previous video. So I'm going to show you my idea. So I've printed off a few photos here, random photos, but obviously if you're giving this to a specific person, use photos of you together. And we are going to make a little photo album, which is exactly the same way that I made this. So I've cut these 2 inches by 2 inches, and this is going to be the front cover, and then inside you're going to have your little photos, and on the back you can then stick your sentiments or messages of love to your friends. So simplest way to do this is line them all up, make sure they're all nice and tight to one another, use a grip or a clip or whatever you've got, and then I like to just make a little cross hatch score on the top so that the glue kind of sticks in there. So just across one way, across the other way, in a crisscrossy manner. And then just going to get some basic craft glue and put a nice thick layer on the top here. And just dab that down so that it's covering the top. And then shift that to the top and grip that together and leave to dry to one side, and then we'll sort out the front cover when it's all dry. And so for this, I've already pre-stuck my cardstock on. I'm leaving these two blank because I'm going to put the notebook here. You could cover it up with papers if you want to. That, again, it's all up to you. But because this is going to have a notebook, I'm going to add a 1/4 inch, where are we? Here we are. A 1/4 inch score mark. Oops, that's the cutter. Score mark. Burnish that down. So then it will happily sit the little photo album inside, like so. And then what we're going to do is fold this in half, and then get some elastic. So this stuff is really nice. I will link this in my, everything I use is linked in my description box below. So what we're going to do is measure it so that it just goes round once with no stretching, don't make it too tight, don't kind of manipulate the elastic in any way. We're going to trim it just to here. Put a strip of double-sided tape on the bottom. Stick one end on there, wrap it round, stick the other end there, a layer of tape on the top, and because that's slightly too short, I tend to peel off that strip and then just add a strip on top as well. So, and actually just for a little added reinforcement, I'm just going to get some regular sellotape and just put that over the ends like so, and then fold that over the top, and there you have your elastic closure. So when you close up your booklet, you will do that. I love that. I love that one actually more than the magnets, but again, your choice, your decision. And then you just decorate the top and the underneath. You can shift the elastic to wherever you need it to be. So I'm just going to do this one quickly. So it's I'm just going to use my nail to mark that. Looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch. I'm just going to trim across there. And I've already pre-stuck down my tape. So I'm going to pop this to one side. I'm going to stick that on the top, just like so. Flip that back over. And just stick that down onto that one there, and that is that done until you get to putting your photo album together. Adhere that to wherever you want on your paper. Peel off that mirror bit. That's always the most satisfying, because then suddenly, boof, your mirror's there. And then stick your sentiments wherever you like. So this is now dry, and your photo album pages are now adhered nicely together. I have my strip of spare paper. With this one, you can see I've got just, I used a pair of funky scissors. I call them funky scissors with the creative edge, just to make it a bit more jazzy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to score these into thirds. So this scrap is 3/4, so I'm going to do 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, fold and fold, and already I've got my double-sided tape ready to go. And so the longer front part I'm going to stick on to the front cover. So I'm going to put the front cover face down onto there like that, and then lie my book like so, fold that over the top, and there we go. And then on this one I glued down the very last page. So is that the last page? Yep. So again, glue or double-sided tape. And just line that up so that you've got your border as always. And there we have a little photo album, flip out book or notebook inside your sentiment. I am gonna trim that down just a little bit, because otherwise it will keep catching again. Okay. And so for the last one I'll use my kit so that you can see how to use that as well. But this is going to make this one with the circle closure, the tuck spots and the invisible paper clip. So once you've printed them off on A4, I've used cardstock here. I bought a new printer, which I'll link in the description below, because it's really lovely quality prints it's doing on cardstock. So you line up to the inside of that pink line, and then when you've got your score lines, I've done it pink because if it was black you would see it awfully. So just score across where the lines are, and then I'm putting the lines on the inside, and again, super quick and simple. Now if you want the pockets, there's the double-sided pocket one here, or the single-sided pocket one here. So I just cut this out quickly to show you. So you would fold this up, and if you fold it that way first and just cut along the outside of that pink circle, semicircle, you've got your circle piece done. You can stick your coloured paper on top of that before you cut that, or you can do it afterwards, that's up to you. So if you just cut one side, it will be the one-sided pocket. If you cut so that's an option on here, and if you cut both sides, it's the double-sided, obviously. There you go, that's that. And then you can definitely cut that tidier than I just did. And then a little thin layer of glue along the top here. Close that over, and then that will be your pocket for your little notebook. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut out my papers. I'm going to use the daisies for this one, but I'll make them all up and show you at the end. Okay, so for this one, instead of sticking a piece of cardstock down and then sticking the mirror on top, I used my hole punch, and so now I've got my circle enclosure here. This is the third size up. This is the 2-inch mirror. So where did I put this? I'd stick it there. And before I peel that mirror bit away, I'm just gonna put some glue around. So it doesn't matter if you get any glue on the mirror then. And just lay that down and around it. And obviously on this one I had a little bit extra space, so you could write your sentiments on there if you wanted to as well. The idea did actually come from a Pinterest mirror that I showed my friends, who then made me one for my I think it was a birthday present, where they bought me a mirror and they wrote in permanent pen, different colours, the things they love about me, and now I have that as my mirror, my daily affirmation mirror. So I have very lovely friends too. Now peel this away, and there we have the inside of that one, and then we have our pockets. So I'm just going to stick down the 3 coloured, and I've added some black here because I think I want to use the papers for the actual pocket parts, so I've cut some blacks as well, ready to go. Okay, and so for the tuck spot pockets, you could just cut in half and stick it down like so, but I'm going to do it so that it's 3/4. So I'm actually going to use the lid, the top flap, as a guide for cutting this because it's just the right size. And so we've got one here, and then I'm going to, and I've just realised I didn't want the double-sided tape on the back of these, did I? I'm now going to have to use a black one. Actually, I'm not going to. I'm going to trim it slightly more this way. I'm going to stick this on top of the black. And then, see, disaster averted. I'm going to bring in my cutter, or you can do the technique I did earlier, which was just draw a circle and cut it. And then you're just going to stick a bit of glue. So this is where you've just cut your archway. Glue. 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 Stick that down, and then do the same on the other side. And just the same on 3 sides. And then, just like this one, I'm doing it on the opposite side. And so I've cut a couple more. You don't need to print out more than the one set I have, but you could just make either black ones or white ones, or use strips of white paper and add the little cut-offs that you've got. You know, it's endless possibilities with crafting. I'm just going to trim off a bit and make that 1.5. Trim off a little bit from each end. And I want them to stick out a little bit so that you know that they can be pulled out. And I'm just going to make another one. Again, you don't need a paper trimmer at all, you could just use scissors. And then for these ones, I used my little corner cutter to make them round. But again, you could just cut. And these lines are quite helpful in adding measurement that you didn't know you needed. Okay, so I'm just going to make those two. That's how you make them. You then write your little inspiring messages on them, tuck them in. I put 3 in each on that one. Then I just need to stick a little bit more paper on the back here. I'm going to use the trim offs just to do something a bit different. And again, waste no scraps. And I'll stick this one down. Yeah, there you go. It's just another way of doing it, and you could put your sentiment across the top there. Lovely. So then just adding this circle closure, I'm again going to be using the magnet. I'm going to close this up and work out where I want to stick that. Okay, so I'm going to stick double-sided tape across the top here. You put that down and then lay your top flap over the top, then you don't get any overhang of sticky tape, which is always handy. And then I'm just peeling off the adhesive strip, and I'm going to put that one on the bottom underside of that circle. Then fold it up and make sure that it's all aligned. So add the magnet to the one that's already stuck down with the adhesive on the back. And then just close that down. And there you have it, your magnetic closure done and your tuck spots done. And once again, that's all you need to do now is put your sentiments on. And so that's those. To add to my ever-growing collection, now I've made so many, but as I said earlier, the idea that the lady gave me for who commented on my video to give to strangers, I've just packaged these up with "If you find me, I'm yours to keep. Look in the mirror and know you are worthy, loved and admired." And there's little ones. I'm just going to leave little places that I travel with my little girl. It's just a little gift of kindness to strangers as well. So I really loved that idea. So that's kind of what I've done for that. This is the rest of my papers that I designed. And again, it's all linked in the description, and well, that's it. I hope that step by step was more helpful than the first video. I've got loads more well-being ideas coming up, and I am just really grateful that you came to join me on my channel. And thank you once again to Sherry, Posh Paper Lady. You are just wonderful. So as always, I'll see you soon.